All right, so jumping in with some more questions from the community. I apologize for butchering your name already, but T. Chopin asks, how does a player's awareness factor into zone coverage?
So awareness does have a factor into it, but it's really more of their zone coverage rating. That's the big key. And so we added a lot of different ratings over the past couple of years to kind of break it down so awareness isn't the one rating that really held the keys to all the different parts of the game. And so you have that zone coverage rating, which will factor in a lot to how the zone coverage is played, which is a big upgrade for us this year. We did a lot of work to zone coverage to really improve how that's run in the game.
All right, and kind of along those same lines, let's see, Ty Boomer asks, have any other improvements been made on the defensive side of the ball other than the changes to zone defense that you guys have already mentioned?
So yeah, the zone coverage defense, you'll see the tackle animation, the tackle changes, and the collision system there were big upgrades. There's also been some updates to man coverage as well, so that you'll be able to not see players so much jump routes before they really know where the ball is going. That was kind of an issue in the past where you can see on an out route in man coverage, the corner might jump a little bit too early before the break of the receiver. Now they're going to play it more realistically. And so a lot of changes that way as far as new plays added too with those zone coverage. And the 4-2-5 more specifically, the 4-2-5 got a huge upgrade this year. And so that's one of the great new playbooks to run this year with all the additions. A lot of zone tendencies and techniques that you see teams like TCU run have made their way into the game this year.
All right, cool. And for anyone who is just tuning in, you can get your questions in on NCAA 12. We've already learned that we're not quite getting into Dynasty mode and the road to glory or online just yet, but send your questions over to @IGN, #NCAA 12, and we'll see if we can't get you the kind of answer you want.
So your first two possessions, interception, then a punt against All-American. Is it too early to start chanting overrated?
Let me also remind you of the fact that most of my time here is spent talking to you,
here it
answering
comes.
questions.
The lights are in your eyes.
I'm a man of
Last night you stubbed your thumb. It was so painful.
I'm a man of very limited abilities. We know this, so you're taxing me here by having to both play and talk. So I can't chew gum and walk at the same time either.
Gotcha.
Jumping in with another question that maybe you guys have an answer for, maybe you don't, but Ty Boomer jumps in with any date range or an exact date on when the demo is coming out.
Ooh. So that's a great question. The demo is actually in the process of being going through certification right now. We just got word on the 360 demo actually earlier today. So no exact date yet, but it's in the process. It's out of our hands and going through the certification process. So we should have something for you soon.
How's that a PSN game coming, huh?
Well, you know.
I'm really anxious to download anything off the PSN these days. End of the first year, talking about some of this stuff.
So here we see the quarter break here, and you see highlights going on. You'll see different plays from the game, different vignettes showing crowd and coach reactions and different player reactions and mascots and all sort of stuff. So kind of a great thing that you would see in real life.
All right.
Kind of on that reaction note,
it's time to put up a show.
It's time to go?
It's over. We're going to Columbia, Missouri.
All right, so the warm-up's done. Now it's time to do it.
Now it's it, yeah.
Greg,
right. Have you been sandbagging in front of everybody?
Huh? You didn't need the warm-up.
No, look at me. I come right out.
Yeah.
I'm like the Chicago Bears. I just warm up in an ice freezer, and then I run out. I'm sure nobody's going to get injured. I'm not going to pull any. Peter Moored it. Hold on.
All right. Otha2K2 asks, how are entrances different at neutral sites, for example, the Cotton Bowl, as compared with home games? Boomer Sooner.
So we're going to have entrances at neutral site games, but they will be a little bit more on the generic variety. We're not going to have Ralphie at Colorado State, for example. You won't see Bevo at Texas Stadium or the Cotton Bowl. But they do have entrances still that are there. There are big upgrades to bowl presentations. So you'll see the big American flag and fireworks go on to set the scene for a big BCS game. So we have added some elements there. Okay. So rather than take my Florida State squad as I always do.
Oh yeah, who are you gonna go now?
Let's jump in because I want to show some of those kind of conference ESPN wipes that you see through. So makes sense to use a fellow Big 12 team, but it's slim pickings these days.
Now you should probably take the Jayhawks in there.
Maybe Jayhawks a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, damn it. I'll give an easy win. You're a joke, Kansas, and I hate you.
There you go. As much as I like Turner Gill, not quite yet, but we'll go with the Cowboys here.
Got Mad Skills Son asks, does the CPU quarterback actually scramble this time? And are there block punts and field goals this year?
Yes. So you will see this, the quarterback scramble inappropriate situations a lot more than they did last year. So last year kind of hung around the pocket a little bit too long at times, took some sacks when they shouldn't have. So you'll see them break free and try and pick up some yards where you can. Block field goals, block punts. It's a weird situation with that because you don't want to make it too easy that it can always happen, and then that whole that throws them out of the game altogether. Yeah. But in the right situation, you got the right player, you get through free, you can make a block.
Hi everybody, I'm Brad Nessler.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Kirk Street here in the booth, and we're also
we're in the show me state for what should be
an
exciting college football showdown.
So again, we'll see here the ESPN set being built inside of Faroe.
Yep, there you go. There you go.
Of course.
Tigers of Missouri.
Another great one too. We can't get him to say Nevada correct.
Oh, really?
That was always a big thing. Is it Nevada or Nevada? And the fine folks of Nevada are very opinionated on how that's said.
It's the same way in Missouri or Missouri. You get a lot of that. So. Nessler, he's just an interesting cookie.
He's a good guy.
Marches to his own drummer.
I'll tell you what, though, man, he is such a professional. You come in, he can just knock out a script and just bang it out and just hit line after line and the inflection, because that's a big part when you're doing commentary, is trying to match that inflection and match that pitch. And it's one of the things that a lot of guys have struggled with, and it's hard to do. But I mean, he's a pro.
You have to maintain it, right? Like you're doing line by line, so you never know what's coming before or after.
Because it's all kind of stitched together. So it starts out, for Missouri. They've got a great game today, kind of thing like that. And so to try and get that pitch and that tone each time is really difficult. Yeah. But he does our intro video as well, and does the voiceover for our intro videos. And we had a great one last year. We're this year's even more epic than last year's. And it's kind of one of those things where, you can give him the phone book and he can make a compelling read. You can be enthralled with just hearing him say it. And so it's just a great guy to have a talent like that to work with.
Actually, Atha2K2, I think we already hit one of his questions, but he's got some good ones in here. How often are you guys updating the rosters before the product's released?
So roster creation is a yearly development cycle thing for us. It's one of those things when we don't have since we don't have the actual rights to real players, we're going through and trying to update them to be as close to the actual team styles as possible. And so with that, there's a lot of research going to see what's the makeup of the team going to be this next year, and trying to get those updated. I mean, there's 120 schools, 70 players per team. So there's a lot of players that need to get touched every year. And even though you're doing them in more of a generic manner than actually recreating real players, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And so our roster guy, it's a full-time gig. From the moment he can get started on it until we lock him out of the database and he's done. It's an effort of trying to get things as close to what we want them to be for the year.
We have another of our chopped off questions coming in. But curious question about how do you guys feel about the potential of the game considering the current NFL issues?
Pardon me, hold on. What are we seeing here?
Look like you got a little lucky there.
No, I'm just curious. I mean, I know I didn't show a lot of great stuff in that first game, but just curious what happened.
We're getting the jitters out there. I was in the audience that time Nebraska ran it for 99 yards. Trust me, I've seen worse things in Faroe Field.
But so that's an interesting question, though. With the NFL and their situation of what's going on, you're seeing a lot of more of a push for college football in the real world. You're seeing a lot of games moving around dates. Teams are going to start playing, if there is a lockout, teams are going to start playing on Sunday, on Monday night. So college football is going to be at the forefront, and we want to be right there with them, helping to kind of promote the sport and push the sport forward. So, none of us want to see a lockout, especially, those of us that are hardcore fans of just football in general, not just college, but just football. None of us want to see a lockout, but from a college perspective, there's a big opportunity there.
Absolutely. We actually even had one viewer chiming in asking if there's ever a chance to see some year an NCAA title coming out in Europe.
We get that question more often than you would imagine, because you would think that college football is an American sport and a North American only kind of interest, but those questions are popping up more and more. That becomes more of a viable option. That down the line, you could see a PAL version that gets shipped to Europe.
Cool. For anyone watching at home, you may have noticed the tension has kind of risen from here to about here.
Someone got a little quiet.
Well, whatever, you jumped.
Mainly apparent in Greg's eyes.
A normal FSU team, you jumping over to the... I tell you. Remember, if you want to be a part of the show, everybody, you can Twitter at IGN with the hashtag NCAA12 or comment on the IGN article. If you're watching this on YouTube, too bad. Come to IGN.com. That's your fault. What are you thinking?